This podcast is 5 years old, and now there is a book that you can hold in your hands for it. It's called You're the Right Mom for Your Kids, and it's found for pre-order today on Amazon.
Let's keep calm and mother on. Mothering is way too important to do alone, and way too serious to be serious all the time. My name is Christy Thomas, and I am here shoulder to shoulder with you, mothering and enjoying life together. This is the podcast where you can focus on being mindful and taking a deep breath with me and learning new things so you can pause and savor the amazing life you already have.
To finish 2023, I'm going to share with you some special conversations I had with my dear friend Nada. She offered to interview me after reading a draft of my book about 3 times, and I am just so honored by her time and her energy. She's an amazing human, mom, a wife, a veteran, a military spouse, and she has 5 kids and countless chickens and animals and lives this awesome adulting life. I'm so thankful for her. And here is her book review, and then we'll get to the conversation.
As a very introverted hermit, I have had to rely on luck to make connections with other women. As risky as that social system is, it has always paid off, and my beautiful Christy Thomas is proof. Christy and I have only been in a room together a few times. The depth of friendship and trust that we have developed over many years is proof that online friendship is real friendship. We bonded over our shared habit of experimentation on our own lives and a radical seeming level of candor about the ways our lives are being shaped by motherhood, marriage, and constant moving. She shared 100 of her good ideas with me, always with this focus. How can I be a help to mothers? How can I soothe their anxieties? How can I bring loving perspective? She's done the 100,000 hours on this topic, and now we have her thoughts condensed into her book. Read it in one gulp or one passage a day. Let it seep in. Believe her, she's really an expert, and she's telling you, you are the right mom for your kids. I love you, girl.
Christy, welcome
Hi.
to the podcast.
It's so weird, friends. This is so weird.
No, it is, and I'm so honored that you asked me. Like, it's the most flattering thing that's happened to me in a really long time, and I love your book, and I'm so happy to be asking you questions about it, and I think you're amazing, and like, if you have a fan club with one member, it's me. So thank you for trusting me to do this, and I hope I do a good job, because your book is amazing, and I love it. I've read it 3 times, so
I'm so honored.
Yeah, no, you're so, you just have so much to give, and you're so generous with what you have to give. And this book is just an extension of that quality in you that everybody loves about you. So, and it's full of ideas, and I just, I'm hoping at some point you'll read the poem that you wrote in there.
You'll have to give me the page number so I can pull it up.
All right. I have it sort of open here. I'm not very computer savvy, but we'll find it. So anyways, we're going to start with our question. Why did you decide to write a book, Christy?
Well, I think as a little kid, I always knew I wanted to write a book, but then life happens, right? And you get academic scars from like the type of writing you have to do for school. And this book is not at all school academic writing.
Yes, which is probably why I love it.
It's not. So if you're looking for like well-formed essays, no, you're going to find like sentence fragments and like stream of thought and hugs, the type of thing I would text you if I could text you. But I interviewed Boomy Lodidin, the honest toddler, a couple of years ago. And then since then, she's like sent me email messages or DMs on social media. And she's like, you have a book. You need to write the book. And so I hired her. I hired her to coach. And I decided to get a journal and a pen and to write a book. And after years of using things like Brave Writer with Julie Bogart, I realized that writing isn't a solo sport. It's definitely like a team thing. And it felt so good to write in a team with a partner and not be judged on like the sentence editing in a red pen way. And just for like the heartfelt of the content of the ideas. And so this book comes out right around the 5-year anniversary of this crazy podcast. And I cannot believe it that it's been 5 years. And if the internet blows up and my kids have no record of these audio sound bites, Now they also have maybe a paper copy of a book of ideas of like for them in their darkest moments of mothering.
Right. And it would be so interesting to read these sort of thoughts from your own mother. Can you imagine finding your book written by your mother?
It would feel so surreal, I think, right? Like we don't often think of our moms in the trenches with us as children.
Yeah. Well, and I think it would be such a nice record for them to have because what you clearly lay out is that it was a joyful struggle. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like in this book, you hit a lot on the idea of things being like a beautiful mess.
Yes.
You know, and the type B motherhood, which you and I have talked about so much, and just, I don't know how important it is to put relationships over form and function and perfection and what that looks like and feels like for moms, you know?
Right. I think that's the hardest challenge, right? That we can pick up books and lots of people suggest like reading business books for efficiency. I've seen that all over mom blogs. But when you pick up a business book, like there's a task and a start to a finish to a business task, right? There's no like start and finish of mothering. There's no start and finish of a lifelong love affair relationship with someone that you grew.
Yes.
I can't quantify it. So business books like never really resonated. I could learn tips, but yeah, it doesn't have any love in it.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. And I feel like a lot of parenting books are also pretty devoid of love because they're just a set of, you know, rules to follow or ideas to adhere to. And, this is definitely not that. And none of the stuff that you put out is that. And so one of the things that I think I know the answer, but I want to hear what you have to say. Yeah. What was it specifically that made you switch? Not that you were ever on the parenting track, but I feel like in my friendship with you, there came a moment where you definitely decided my focus is mothers and not parenting. I'm not teaching you how to parent. I'm teaching you how to take care of yourself as a mom. And so I'm just wondering what got you there.
Because I think mothering is so lonely in America. I think that it's easy to find parenting resources, but really hard to find resources that see you as a whole person, as a mom, while tending to these whole persons as humans. It's all encompassing. And I don't know what it's like to parent. Like, I think that's a verb we made up. Like, I know what it's like to mother. And I think my husband does a good job of fathering, but like parenting, I don't think it can be a thing.
Well, and I feel like mothering sometimes it can extend to almost any relationship, including the one you have with yourself.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so I feel like that's sort of where you went is, you know, broadening the definition of mothering and how you have to mother yourself, mother your children, mother the world, your community.
Yeah, because I think mothering is about like fathering reminds me of like protecting, right? And sistering means to like make other people strong. And then mothering is the tending, the care, the keeping of. And yeah, of course, we have to mother ourselves. And I think that's the forgotten language right now.
Right. And do you feel like that has a lot to do with giving yourself permission to be fully human? Is that how we mother ourselves? Because that's what we're trying to do for our kids, like let them be full humans in safety.
I think that you've read the book a couple of times, so you know that the phrase excessive gentleness is in there.
Yes.
And I think
you used it 100 times and I love that term so much.
And I think that's because so often we choose productivity over humanhood. And I think that if we can let ourselves be excessively gentle with ourselves, then we can be excessively gentle with the animals around us, the humans around us, the environment around us.
Yes.
It bubbles over.
It does.
But we have to care for ourselves first in order to give that away freely.
So tell me a little bit about your progression, because you just have had so many good ideas over the years and you've pursued all of them. And you're just a really fun person to be friends with because you're always doing something interesting and, you put your heart into it. And so tell me how you got from your texting service, which was a great idea, to, you've done so many things. You do the book club, you wrote this book, you engage with people online, you have your podcast. I mean, how do you see that going from the texting service to the book?
So I think my goal has always been to be the cheerleader for moms. Like to be the Mr. Rogers and Mary Poppins, but just for the mom, because there are so many other people that are cheering all the other people in the universe. And moms have this magical role of being the life force of the house, emotionally, physically, energetically. Yeah. Like all the really important unspoken ways, which is why this topic of like invisible labor is such a big one, because moms are the heartbeat of invisible labor in a house.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
so the texting service is was to remind moms that they get to have fun and to not let dads have all the fun, because there's like that whole concept out there. And then the podcast, it was just to be the voice that I needed about like 5 to 6 years earlier. So I always keep thinking like, what could I have used? And I look around to see if someone else has made it yet. And then I decide to do it anyways.
Yeah.
Because I can't find the voice exactly that I wished I had.
No, I haven't found it either. I'm with you where I think probably Julie Bogart got the closest for me, because she really is just so enlightened in a specific way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
I think for me, it would be a combination of Julie Bogart and then the Catholic mom blogger Elizabeth Foss. Like the two of them combined, if I could have tea with them at the same moment, the two of them combined are like the essence of like organize, type B, lean into the chaos, but like really savor your kids.
Right. Be joyful. Yeah. Oh, okay. That's lovely. So, you talked a little bit earlier about how motherhood is really lonely. And I feel like as a Navy wife, that's what we both are. We have a particular view of loneliness because we have to give up our community so much. And so it just makes I have 2 questions. What are some suggestions you have from your toolbox? Because you have the best toolbox for combating loneliness, or even just acknowledging the loneliness that we feel, and just sort of how to overcome it. And then also, what have you learned from the loneliness and from having the lack of community and having to build it over and over again that you think would be helpful to people in general?
Well, my teenager will tell you I've learned immense confidence to a point of arrogance that I think that now when I move and I walk into a room, I just decided a long time ago that the people don't know that they want to be friends with me.
Yes, I love that.
Like they just don't know that they want to be friends with me and that they're going to cry in a couple years when I move away. Like they don't know it yet, but it's going to happen. Like maybe not all of them, but at least one person there is looking for a friend, and I could be that person.
Right.
And then, so there's that knowing that culturally we are so lonely, and that it's a really good fact that there probably is someone in that room that's looking for a friend. And so I can like rely on that emotionally, like I'm a good person and they're going to miss me when I'm gone, and that I'm worth being friends with. But also like statistically, there is someone lonely here, and we can find each other.
Yeah.
And then that acknowledgement of loneliness is so hard. Moving and rebuilding is exhausting in ways that are like deep bone exhaustion.
Yes, I agree.
And
that's soul exhausting.
Yeah. And it takes time. Like I know we've talked about this privately. Like it takes at least 1 year in a spot to like really know a spot, to like see all the seasons and to find the hidden things. Maybe 2 years to find the hidden things, depending on how big the place is.
Yeah.
And then for sometimes that's like when we move again. And so it's just the cycle of making a list and deciding, I hate making lists, but it's always comes down to the list. Like, can I find a coffee shop where someone can know my name? Can I find the good librarian? I just need to find a couple of people that I can say hi to consistently early on that recognize who I am.
Yeah. One of the girls that I work with, it's funny, I said basically that same thing to her. We're not in a military town, and I told her, every time we move somewhere new, I always try to find one person who like is just familiar to me. Yeah. And so I told her, and you were that person to me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, you'd recognize me from the last time I was in here, and it's a meaningful, weird relationship that you have when you're.
Yeah. To be a regular somewhere, even though you're brand new, is a big deal.
Right. Yeah. So why do you think we're culturally lonely?
Well, you should all go read The Nurture Revolution by Greer Kirshenbaum. But basically, it's because the United States is a low nurture society. We have all these myths that foster independence from the moment we take our first breath. And we've forgotten that we're meant for community and we don't know how to be in community well.
Yeah. And I think it's really taking us out. I keep saying, I think community is the only thing that can save us. So
yeah, I think it really comes down to that. Like I know that book is a little bit heavy and it's written for like parents of 0 to 3. And it talks about how your brain changes every time you get pregnant and every time you nurture a child. It changes your brain and it changes your child's brain epigenetically. So like you are helping your great grandkids have a better nurturing experience every time you sing a lullaby to your own kids.
Yeah.
Like think about
so powerful.
Like, you know, all those beautiful images of like tree of life and you see like all those roots underneath it. And like every time you care for yourself and then care for these lovely, amazing miracles that are walking outside of you, you're changing their tree roots.
See how you are? What a lovely thought, Christy.
I mean, so I know in the book I talk about like having dreams and remembering where you want to go because you want your kids to want to come home to you, right? When you're grown up. Like that's a constant theme in my head. Like I want them to want to come back to me.
Right.
So even during the sticky teen years, like teen years are sticky, but like I get to enjoy them through this because I want to make sure that I'm still a safe spot when they're grown up and I want them to come back to me.
Right. Well, and I think the idea of finding joy and taking care of your teenagers and not viewing that as that, you know, the end of the good part of parenting and not deciding that you're just going to meet their natural struggle with your own.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us just trauma from our own teenage years. It's such a hard time to live, just to be in your own skin. I think it's kind of revolutionary. And so I love that you're talking about it and sort of taking it on as a subject. But why do you think, I think it's trauma. I think it's our own trauma, but why do you think those years are so particularly triggering for mothers?
Because they're full of grief.
Yeah.
We don't want to let our kids grow up all the way. I mean, we do. We know it's going to happen. But like when you see your kid drive down the road or go on that date or do something or look at the colleges and move out of state, right? Like they're so separate from you and you can't keep them safe anymore. And it's grief.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things that you talk about in one of the passages of your book is that you have to grieve each stage.
Yeah.
Of your child, and
like it's this constant metamorphosis of them.
Yeah.
Like when you look at your kid, I have baby pictures of my kids all over the place. Not so many like recent pictures, but I have a lot of young pictures of them. And it's because I'm so enamored by them at like every phase. Like, so I can't have like recent pictures up unless they're like recent, because I don't want them to think that I don't like them how they are right now because they're so slightly different every time they grow up and change, right? Like I imagine what it must be like for my husband to come home from deployment and meet a new version of the kid that he left and how jarring it must be for him.
Right.
And now like I just get to see these little changes all the time and lean into trusting that they've always been an amazing human. And I get to watch it unfold.
Yeah. And you don't get to pick the path, you know?
Yeah. I just want to keep falling in love with them over and over again.
Yeah.
And to fall in love with my own life over and over again, right? Like,
yes.
As they grow up, they're going to leave. I mean, my baby's 11, right? Like that edge of the horizon is so much closer than I could imagine.
Yeah. And now that you've gone through that transition from 11 to what happens after 11, to me, 11 is like the peak year where they're still a child, but they're independent. And then after that, they have to go through the gauntlet, you know, and you're there next to them in the gauntlet. I don't get in the gauntlet. I stand next to the gauntlet, but
exactly.
But the first time it's also unexpected, but then the third time it's like sad and it's, it's always just different. It's just sad
there's
in its
the
own way 'cause
bittersweetness.
you know what's coming. Yeah. So it's really hard. And you just grieve every version. And for me, the 11-year-old, like letting go of that's the one that breaks my heart the most. But then what comes after that is so exciting because they do such interesting things and you can talk to them about stuff. And
there's so much they can teach you and so much curiosity and like beauty and pain and and like oddness that they've brought into my life, right? For self-care today, I want you to take a deep breath and give yourself a hug. You have always been exactly the right mom for your kids. It's a mathematical miracle and just a miracle. So embrace that and give yourself credit for all the ways you show up that you don't even notice anymore. And then for your family fun, because play is such a big part of keeping calm and mothering on. I think that you should get out construction paper and weave some placemats. If you're in the United States, next Thursday is Thanksgiving, and that is a huge day in my house full of games and fun and tradition. And this year, we're going to make paper weaved placemats. And I would love for you to try that and to make those memories with your kids and the grandparents and whoever else is around you. Savor the moment. I am so glad that you are here on earth. I am so glad your kids are here on earth. And I'm just so glad to be alive at the same moment as you. And don't forget, go pre-order You're the Right Mom for Your Kids, bite-sized pep talks just for you by me, Christy Thomas. It's found on Amazon. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for taking the time to pre-order and to read. I can't wait for you to have this book in your hands.